The other thing that we share in the book is a formula of how I constantly have leveled up throughout my lifetime. And I think that's very important because when you're thinking about moving from one version of yourself to the next version of yourself, you've got to realize that you got to do things a little bit differently. Like you're not going to be able to do some of the things you used to do before in this new version of you. And that's going to require a little bit of planning. And it's interesting because I think people don't really plan that part out. They just say, oh, I want to be, or oh, I want to do, but they don't think about all the things that come along with the version of themselves that is the be and the do. Does that make sense? And there are versions, there are things that you do as, I'm gonna be disrespectful, but as a loser, there are things you don't do and things that you do. And as someone who's showing up as dedicated and committed to whatever their dream and their goal is, there are things that they will always do that the loser version of them would never do. You know what I'm saying? And so you've got to figure out what that is. And I'm not saying, loser is the extreme. I'm not saying that you necessarily have to look at yourself in that way, right? But I'm saying the version of yourself that's not connected to who you genuinely are, striving to be, to show up. So that's what we're talking about in the book, the free book, Fuck Being Broke. Okay. It's at unleashyourideas.com. You can get a copy of the ebook. And so I talk about the next V formula, which is the formula that I use to level up. Now, I didn't really realize that I had a formula name, I kind of came up with the name later, but I realized as I was like, every time I went through different, like when I started writing my story and I started to look back and see how I was able to get through different situations, it really became clear that I use the formula every time, right? Like every time I use the formula to level up. And my level up happened, it has always happened. So it's never been a situation where I said, I want to do this, or I want to be this, or I want to experience this, and it has not happened. Some things maybe, but I feel like they're in the works, right? But most things I can go back on my list and I can check them off and say, okay, I was able to achieve them. How was I able to do that? What system, what formula did I use? And so in the guide, Fuck Being Broke, I actually broke the system down step by step, exactly how I would do it every single time and how I still do it to this day. And I want to share that with you all because I think that's very important. I give away a lot of formulas in this guide. So it's really one of those, if you've ever bought any of my information, have gone to my academy, I'm always like over delivering. And so this is one of those books where it's not just like a feel good book, but it's really a book about you sitting down. That's why it's a workbook that goes with the book, because you really want to sit down and like work through each and every chapter so that you can really start to understand your relationship with money and how you want to move throughout your level up process, because you should be evolving all the time, right? You should be consistently evolving.